everyone. I'm Mykie Stiller, the Chief Operating Officer for the Proctor Gallagher Institute, and I have Tommy Collier, our Creative Media Director, with me. And stop what you're doing and watch this video because it could change your life. We're going to pick Bob's brain here in just a minute on some burning questions that could help you get to the life you're really hoping to achieve. And we're also going to introduce our newest program that I think you're going to love. Tommy, how are you?
Hi, Mykie. I'm great. How are you?
I am great as well. You know, we've just softly started introducing our newest program, Bob Proctor's Masterclass, and I don't think I've ever been as excited about a program as I am this one, mainly because Bob is truly the master of personal development. You know, when you look up the definition, a master is someone having or showing great skill or proficiency, and with Bob studying for the last 60 years this one single subject, your mind, how you think, how you operate, how you achieve success, he's clearly the master on this subject, and we all have so much to learn. And then, of course, a master class is a class given by an expert to a group of highly talented individuals. And I love that qualifier, that the clients and the students, they are highly talented themselves. They have a skill level. They are progressively realizing their ideal. So I'm excited about the masterclass. I'm excited to bring Bob on and pick his brain why after 60 years he decided to do an elite level mentorship program that we've never done before, where he's going to spend 2 hours every single week for 6 months live with a group of clients. And I can't wait to see what they achieve.
I'm so excited. I can't wait. I mean, I feel like I've been waiting for this class myself for like 5 years. So to be, putting this on officially as a company, this is just going to be so good.
All right, let's bring Bob on here. Bob, are you there? We've got some questions for you.
Bob is here. How are you, Mykie?
I am doing wonderful. How are you?
Great. Doing great.
Hey, Bob.
Tommy, how are you?
Great.
Bob, after 60 years, you have decided to do a master class. Give us a peek into what the master class looks like and why you decided to do it after all this time.
Well, do you know, Sandy Gallagher, my partner, and I, we were talking one day, and the Born Rich book is the book that's really the foundation of this company. And it's all over the world in a number of different languages. I wrote the book around 1983. I started to study this in 1961. So it was, 22 years, something like that, when I wrote the book that I had been studying. But that's been about 36 years ago, 37 years ago, maybe 38 years ago, that I wrote this. And I've never stopped studying the material in it. And I believe it was yourself, Mykie, and Arash, our Vice President of Sales, that really suggested we teach what's in this book. I think you talked about the master class. Arash talked, you and Arash were talking about it, and then Sandy suggested we base it on the Born Rich book. I think that is the way it went. And I'm excited about it because the subject matter in here, it was not only very powerful in 1982, 83 when I wrote the book, it's every bit as powerful today. Just take a look at some of them. Like Me and Money is chapter 1. And I figured that's where I should start. People have got to get comfortable with money. Most people are not. Most people really don't understand money. They don't understand how to earn it. They're not comfortable with it. And money is an energy, just like every other energy. It goes where it's in harmony. Whatever's in harmony with it, that's where the money will flow. See, we're talking about absolute laws. I see the law as God's modus operandi. That's how everything happens. And it happens perfectly. So if a person's not on the same frequency as the energy of money, they're not going to have it. It's going to be a struggle all their life. The second one is, how much is enough? Now, that's a question that people really should get thinking about. Most people think, gosh, if I just get enough, keep the wolf away from the door. But that isn't enough to live the way you really want to live. I mean, we're God's highest form of creation. We should have an incredible life. The next one is the image maker. Well, of course, everything starts out with an image. This phone was nothing but an image in the mind of one person at one time. the book that I've been studying forever, Think and Grow Rich, it was an image in Andrew Carnegie's mind before he even talked to Hill about it. So we're talking about images for everything. We have a self-image. I think these things are so good. Let go and let God. Most people don't understand that. God does all the work. We merely choose. We give direction and bingo, it happens. The average person doesn't understand that. Now, I've been studying that every day for 60 years, and I think a person sitting through this class, if that was the only part of it that we hit on, they would be more than happy. The next one is expected abundance. See, expectation invokes the law of attraction. The law of attraction is a definite law, and expectation really triggers it. Expectation is a mindset, a very important one. The next one is the law of vibration. You know, the law, everything vibrates. The law of vibration decrees that everything moves, nothing rests. We literally live in an ocean of motion. And we want to begin understanding some of these laws. Like in the movie The Secret, of course, we talked a lot about the law of attraction. And not everybody talks about it and understands it. I've been studying this forever. The law of attraction is a secondary law. It's not a primary law at all. Law of vibration is a primary law. And the only thing you can attract are the things that you're in harmonious vibration with. That's on the same frequency as you. Then we have the risk takers. You got to take a risk if you're going to grow, because growing is going where you've never been. You've got to go on into the dark. It's like Joseph Campbell says, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. It's such a beautiful quote, and it's so true. Well, you've got to learn how to take a risk. And that's what all life is really about. The next one is The Razor's Edge. It's such a good book. You know, there's a movie on that title. The line that separates winning from losing is as fine as a razor's edge. And so when we start studying and understand this, imagine working with this every week for 6 months. My goodness. A person's expansion, their concept, their consciousness would just expand to an enormous degree. The next one, don't think in reverse. Well, we were taught to let the dead bury the dead. We shouldn't be looking back. We should be looking ahead. There's so much in front of us. I mean, there's so much great things that have happened, but nothing compared to what's going to happen. We're off into the beautiful future. And the last law is a beautiful one, the vacuum law of prosperity. We've got to create a space for the good that we desire. So what we're doing, we're taking this book and we're really working on it. Now, everybody that comes into it gets a leather-bound copy of You Were Born Rich with their name on it. This has Scott Edwards' name on it. Scott is the director here of our studio. We are quite proud of our studio. We built a studio. It's literally a television station. We're at the Proctor Gallagher Institute. We broadcast all over the world from here. So we take the seminars to the people. People can't go to seminars now. We go to them. And the trick is to adapt. You've got to learn to adapt, and we've done that well. I think you two have helped us to an enormous degree. So that's really what the master class is all about. It's about you were born rich. And the truth is you were born rich. Everybody's just a little short of money. But it's every week for 6 months. I'm going to teach you for an hour, and then you're going to be broken into a little group with some of the other people that are on this, and you're going to be discussing what we're teaching for an hour. You not only get this leather-bound copy of Born Rich, you'll get a leather-bound matching copy of a ring binder where you'll start jotting your notes down. You'll mastermind with people that are on the same program, studying the same thing, going the same way, on the same frequency. That's what masterminding is truly all about. That's the idea in my mind, Mykie.
Yeah. You know, I was talking to a Raj earlier today, and he was talking about how understanding attitude was one of the greatest lessons he's ever learned from you, and how on the surface level, people might think that attitude is an optimistic perspective. Someone has an optimistic mindset, then they have a great attitude. But when you really peel down the onion and realize what attitude is, and that you have an attitude towards everything in your life, that's when you really understand attitude and see and reap the benefits from it. And I think that's what we're going to do with each of these chapters. It's so different from just reading the book because we're studying it with you, and you're going to peel those onions with us and for us while we really dive into each topic. Can you talk a little bit?
Like the way you put it about peeling an onion, you know, and you have one of the best attitudes of anybody in our company. We've always been saying that. Arash really has learned a lot about attitude. Attitude is it's a bit of a mysterious trip for most people. It's not just how you think. It goes so much deeper than that. There's 3 parts to our personality. We're triune beings. We live simultaneously on 3 planes of understanding. Well, attitude is the action in all 3 planes. And if they're not all in sync, haven't got a good attitude. We can control our attitude. It's our thoughts, our feelings, and actions. It's the composite of all 3. And we've got to get them in sync. You can actually be thinking one thing and feeling another. It's not good for attitude. Everything we get in our life is based on our attitude. And it's the composite of all those 3.
You know, Bob, when you think about mastery, you think about someone who's taken a big concept or a mysterious concept, something that they didn't know, and they've come to master it, right? They understand it so in depth that it's just like second nature. And that's really what I think about with you. What you've done with all of these theories is success can be really mysterious to a lot of people. They think that it needs to be complex. They think that there's probably some big equation that they have to figure out that they haven't found yet. And what you're so good at is simplifying it so that anyone can understand it, anyone can apply it. And that's where I think the mastery comes in. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Well, you know, that never happened by accident, Mykie. It happened by design. I never went to school. I went to high school for 2 months and didn't even do well up to that point. Never had a job in business. I was in laboring type work. I was in the Canadian Navy for a number of years and in laboring type work. So I never, there was no such thing as business mind or anything like that. And what we deal with is the mind. It can be very complex, and with most people it is, but it had to be explained in very simple terms or I wouldn't have gotten it. And so I really believe it's reduce everything to the ridiculous. I love the way President John Kennedy had it put one time. He said he liked to prepare his speech so a 10-year-old could understand them. Then he's not going to confuse anybody. Well, that's sort of the way I like to explain these things, because I've had just some absolutely magnificent mentors. I started when I was 21. Now I'm 86. So, I mean, I've been at this for a long time. And I study it every day. I guess you could say I'm obsessed with it. And that bothered me at one time because somebody said, you're obsessed with this. And I knew they were right. And I thought, I always looked at obsession as a bad word, or certainly a negative one. If you're obsessed, I mean, you're being controlled. And then I heard about the magnificent obsession. And I thought, woo, how could it be magnificent if it's... So I looked up the word obsession. By the way, Magnificent Obsession is a magnificent book by Lloyd C. Douglas. But the magnificent obsession, an obsession is a persistent, disturbing occupation with an often unreasonable idea. Well, I had to admit then, yeah, I'm obsessed. I had a persistent, disturbing preoccupation with an unreasonable idea. Why do we do what we do? Why we don't do what we're capable of doing? We have got such depth of potential, and most people struggle all the way through life. I guarantee anybody who goes through the master class at the end of 6 months, they'll never struggle again. And you never should struggle. There should be no struggle. In fact, if you're struggling, you're going against the law. When you're working with it, it's like water flowing downhill. There's no struggle. And it's sort of beautiful, like I was saying to my wife the other day, I said, I've never earned more and done less. And she said, well, then you're in harmony with the law. And I said, that's right. And of course, we're all the same here at the Proctor Gallagher Institute. We've got such a magnificent company, such a great group of people. But here we practice what we preach, and that's why it works so well, I think. Yeah.
I love that. I'm so excited about the masterclass. I am having the book and the notebook sent to me as well. I am ready and excited to put in double the work because I'll, of course, be helping behind the scenes conduct the program, but I'm also going to be in the program doing the work and doing exactly what you say, because I know how my life has transformed over the last 11 years working with you. I mean, I grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere with a broken family, no example of what a healthy, loving family should look like, no example of any sort of wealth in my life. And you have helped me change my thinking and change my paradigms and create a life that I love. And I'm so excited to see what our clients can create through this program. So what I want to know from you is, what is your vision for each of the clients that are going to participate in the 6-month program?
I want to help them bring order to their mind. Order is heaven's first law. And when a person brings order to their mind, everything in their life starts to work so well. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to absolutely or magnificently or instantly become wealthy. It doesn't mean that all of our problems are going to come away. It means that when we bring order to a person's mind, they're calm. They don't have to rush anywhere. There's no force. They understand that force negates, and they let things happen because they're in charge. See, we're the only creature on the whole planet that's totally disoriented in their environment. All the other little creatures out there are completely at home in their environment. They blend in. You and I are not. We're totally disoriented. And we're disoriented because we've been given the ability to create our own environment. All those other little creatures, they blend in. They operate by instinct, which is perfect. We had instinct removed. We had higher faculties put in their place. And we've been given the ability to create our own environment. And when we bring order to our mind, we bring understanding. That's where Solomon, he said, in all you're getting, get understanding. And the understanding will come in, order will come in, and people will start to look at everything in their life differently. They'll start to understand that they are really in control of their life, and they create the life they want. That's what the master class is all about. Now, I've spent my whole life studying this. I don't know anyone that knows the subject better than myself. I'm very good at this. I'm not much good at anything else. I don't want to do anything else. So if you really want to gain an understanding of how to live the life you really want to live, that's what the master class is all about.
So good. You know, Bob, while I think this program would be amazing for everyone, I don't think that it's a class for everyone. So in your opinion, who is this class for?
This class is for anyone who has a sincere desire to improve the quality of their life. They know that things can be better, and they're trying, but every time they try, they seem to bump up against the wall. And things just don't work. And everything in them wants to give up, but they know that there is a better way. That's the person I want to talk to. The person that really wants to take control and create the kind of life that we've been designed to create.
You know, you've been studying for 60 years, and what I love about this program is that you're going to give everyone the information they need in a way that can collapse that timeline for them, so they don't have to spend 60 years studying. They don't have to spend the time to put together a book like You Were Born Rich and the thought that that takes. Can you talk about how you're going to collapse that timeline for people?
Well, I think that's one of the beautiful things about life. I think that's when Socrates brought that out. You don't have to spend the time that everybody else has spent if you will learn from them. And wise people go to people who have demonstrated by results they know, and then they do exactly what they're told. And when I first learned that, I didn't really know very much of anything. I had no formal education, no business experience. But that made sense to me. I thought, that really makes sense. Bottom line is, you go to someone who has demonstrated by results they know what they're talking about, and then do exactly what they tell you. And that was where the very first mentor, that's the idea he put in my mind. I started to understand it. And so that's where I started to live, you know.
Tommy, you and I both get to work with Bob every single day. You are our creative media director. You are definitely an expert in your field. You've heightened everything at PGI once you came to join our team. What do you think about this new program that we're doing?
Oh, I'm just so excited. I think my favorite idea that I'm excited for is the stories that we're going to hear that I don't think get told that often. We were talking about a little bit earlier about kind of peeling the layers of the onion back. And I feel like even those of us that are fortunate enough to work side by side with Bob often, and even people that come to our seminars and programs a lot, I still feel like we're only seeing the first couple of layers of the Bob onion. So I think over the course of 6 months, working together for a couple of hours every week, I think we're going to see some new layers of the Bob onion that we haven't seen before. What do you think about that, Bob?
Well, that's probably true. Like I've said in a seminar on many occasions that I'll work with people for maybe 3 days or up to 6 days in a seminar, and they will leave and they'll say, gosh, he's the greatest guy, that Bob is the greatest guy. And they don't even know me. I've spent 3 days or 6 days talking about them. I haven't talked about me at all. If I was talking about me, they would get bored in a hurry and would have left. So a lot of people, you go to a seminar and you think you know the person that's running, you probably don't know them at all. The person is teaching you to know yourself better. And so you like them because they have introduced you to a better side of themselves. So yeah, I guess I was thinking of that when you were saying that, Tommy. There are some stories that will come out. I was mentioning to, I think it was Mykie earlier today, there's a story in here when I was, I would have been maybe 14 years old. My brother and I had a paper route in Toronto, and it was a long street, went from Kingston Road to the lake, Ontario. And all on one street, we had 300 customers on our paper route. There was one man, Mr. Chapman, Mr. Chapman. I was getting that to come back to my mind. It goes back 50 years anyway. Mr. Chapman had a big old house. His wife was a tall, thin, tired-looking woman. In the middle of the winter, she would be wearing a spring coat, maybe running shoes, and going off up the street, carrying a bucket and some things. And she was cleaning houses for people. He was a little man that was a hunchbacked over man, and he pushed a cart and he would collect junk. And one day when we got our papers, the truck left them off at the corner for my brother Al and I to pick up and deliver. The headlines were Mr. Chapman had died and left $100,000 in jars and boxes in his house. Now, I was just looking through that today, and I opened the book and looking. I was thinking about how we're going to be teaching this. And I checked it out. 1947, $100,000 in today's dollars would be $1,135,000.
Wow.
So he had that much money socked away in his house, And I said, it was doing no one any good.
Wow.
One of the first things here, we talked about me and money. Money's got to be circulating. If it's not circulating, it's no good. It's not doing anybody any good. You got to keep it circulating. Mr. Chapman didn't understand that. And $100,000 in 1947, he could have done a lot of good. Probably could have bought mortgages on a number of houses, so people could have been buying their houses and would have been earning interest, and he could reinvest. But he didn't understand that, you see. There's a lot of people who don't understand it. So there's a lot of stories, I guess, will come out, yeah.
Yeah. So I have a question. I mean, I think that probably some things that we're going to hear a lot of during this masterclass is stories about you becoming the master that you are today by learning from the masters who taught you. And I know me personally, you are my boss, but also my mentor. I am constantly trying to figure out how Bob's mind ticks, because I just want to know how you think about things and how you operate. So I'm looking forward to hearing stories about you talking about you watching, say, Earl Nightingale or Leland Val Vanderwall, like watching that. I'm sure you were trying to get into their mind and learn how their mind ticked as well.
Oh, I did. I definitely did. But you were saying, I'm your boss. I'm really not your boss. We don't have any bosses here in my mind. That's one way my mind ticks. We do not have any bosses. We're a group of people all working together, and we do have certain levels of authority to preserve subordination, I suppose, and, you know, but there's no bosses. And I think that's why this company runs so well. There isn't any. We all enjoy working together. I learned most of by the mentors that I worked with by watching them. I watched how they worked. I remember one time working at Nightingale Conant. Lloyd Conant was a giant. I mean, he was just an incredible man to work with. And I remember there was a business consultant in from the West Coast in Chicago, and Lloyd said, why don't we show him through the place? So we're showing him through the company, out into the printing plant and everything. And when we come back, he made a comment. He said, Lloyd, I'd like to congratulate you. He said, I paid particular attention everywhere we went. Nobody changed what they were doing when you walked into their office or into the area. They just kept us, they were just chatting, they just kept chatting. There was no intimidation because of your presence. And I not only learned something, well, I learned that operating like Lloyd would be a good idea. So people feel very comfortable whether you're there or not, you know? Yeah, there's a lot of little lessons that'll probably come out in this 6 months that we're going to spend together.
I love it. Like one just happened right there, right? Where you shared that perspective on that you don't even see yourself as the boss necessarily. Like, I love that.
Oh, I think if you see yourself as the boss, you're probably on the wrong track. I don't think you're going to build much of anything if that's the case.
Well, and we know Sandy's the boss, actually.
Sandy's the boss, yeah. Listen, whoever writes the check, they're the boss. Sandy's the boss.
Yep.
And she does a phenomenal job. Yes, Mike.
There's a story that you don't tell often, but it's one that's always stuck with me. And it was a story about when you were much younger, you had a job, I want to say it was a welding job, that you had to ride on a train maybe 45 minutes each way. You hated it. And the entire way there, you were afraid you were going to lose the job.
I'll tell you, yes, I remember it very, very well. I haven't thought about that for a long time. I got out of the Navy and I didn't know what to do. I mean, I went in as an ordinary seaman. I come out as a naval seaman. I mean, they have to make you naval seaman after 18 months, I think. No promotion because I didn't apply myself. I didn't go anywhere. And there was an ad in the paper for welding school, Chicago Vocational Welding School. My mother said, maybe that would be good for you. Poor mother, God bless her. I mean, she was always trying to get me straightened out in life, I think. And so I went and took this welding course. And it was an interesting thing. They guaranteed you $2.25 an hour. Now, you know, 50 years ago, that would have probably been a fair amount of money. And yet the instructors were only earning $1.25. So, I mean, how could they, but I wasn't even awake enough to know that. So I got a job in the west side of the city and I had to take public transportation. I didn't have a car all the way across the city. And it was cold. It was cold and streetcars and buses. And there wasn't one route. I had to transfer and get from a bus to a streetcar and then back onto another bus. And all the way there, I was afraid I was going to get fired. I hated it there. The man that ran that place, the man I was working for was a nasty person. I mean, he was not a nice person. He didn't talk to us nice. He didn't treat us right. But I was always afraid I was going to get fired. And looking back at it, I thought, that's got to be a form of insanity. Going to do something that you hate doing and you're afraid somebody else is going to cause you to stop it. And that scares you. That's got to be a form of sanity. But that's where I was at. I knew none of this stuff. I mean, this idea about being born rich, I would have laughed at that.
You know, well, the reason that I love that story so much is because I think oftentimes people might see you now the master of personal development, America's greatest prosperity teacher. You run a global business that earns millions of dollars. You're teaching millions of people how to think to become successful. You've been in the movie The Secret, and they might feel like you don't understand their circumstances.
Oh, I understand. Yeah, that's a good point. I fully understand everybody's circumstances because I've been there. I've really been there. It hasn't been a bed of roses. You see, I just see me as Bob. I'm Bob. I'm just like I see you and Mykie and you're Tommy and I'm Bob. And I realize that I'm in a position that, I earn a lot of money and, I love what I do and I enjoy a lot of privileges in life that a lot of people don't maybe. But it's only because I become very good at what I'm doing. Anybody can do that. That's based on an absolute law of prosperity. And Earl taught me that law, Earl Nightingale. I was doing it and didn't know what I was doing. I was what you call an unconscious competent. And there's a lot of people like that. They're very good, but they don't know why they're very good. So it's non-transferable. I couldn't give it to my children. But when you understand it, then you get something that's transferable. But the law of compensation is clear. The amount of money you earn is or the compensation you receive is in direct ratio to the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty there is in replacing you. So if there's a great need for what you do and you do it very well, you're going to be very difficult to replace. Your stock goes up. There's two forms of income. One is satisfaction and one is money. And we've got to understand that. And you don't go to work for money. That's some misconception that's prevalent. It's all over the world. You go to work for satisfaction. You provide service to earn money. So you could be earning money while you're sleeping. You could earn more money when you're sleeping than you'd even spend when you're awake. It's the way somebody else sees me, probably different than I see me. I've often said, I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am. You might want to run that through your computer a few times. What do you think of that, Tommy? I
love it. I've been listening to you say that for a couple of years now and keep becoming more and more aware of that.
Well, I think the master class is going to be phenomenal. We've got people like Tommy Collier and Mykie Speller here contributing to this, and we've got a lot of others. We've got the most phenomenal team of people, and we work all over the world. You see, what you'll learn, I sat down with this in 1973. And I said, I'm going to build a company that operates all over the world. I had no idea how I was going to do it. I certainly didn't have enough money to do it. I had nobody working with me at all. I was it. I was the company. Today we operate in 89 different countries. And if we do a seminar and we stream from the studio here, we go into, I think we went up to 119 countries on the last one, something like that. So there's definitely going to be just tremendous benefit. This is not an ordinary seminar type program. This, I believe, is an unveiling of a lot of truth for everybody that's going to be involved. And I really believe the benefit's going to bring order to the mind. And order is heaven's first law. You will be in a heavenly state. It's a nice way to live. Amen. So I'm going to thank the two of you for taking the time to invite me in here to talk about this. I think a lot of people will benefit from it.
Me too.
Same here.
You two do such a phenomenal job in our company. Our company, when you started, Tommy, how long have you been here?
Almost 2 years.
Yeah, well, I was going to say 2-3 years. You've made such a marked difference here. That's what creativity does. It's almost like a master painter. Everywhere you go, your stroke has changed things. And it's such a wonderful change. Mykie now is a little different. Mykie came here. She didn't really know which end was up. She was just a little girl from the farm out in Oklahoma who was working as a nanny. Not that there's anything wrong with that, certainly a responsible position, but certainly no business experience. And I've watched you, because of your attitude is the key. I've just watched you keep moving up until you're one of the key people in the company. You know, you're not only the chief operating officer, you're also the marketing director, which is a double duty that's very important. And I think you'd admit, Tommy, she does a phenomenal job at it, but you both do.
She amazes me.
Yeah, two of you do.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
And my pleasure. And anybody's listening, I'll look forward to working with you. Every week we're going to be together for 6 months. That's pretty good.
We're going to put a link up with this video whenever we post it, a link to a page where you can fill out a form and talk to someone on our team about joining the masterclass. The class is starting in just a couple of weeks, so there's a short timeline to make a decision and get involved. Bob, what is your last words or last recommendation to everyone watching this?
Well, we're going to be teaching something on decision. Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich. The largest chapter in the book is on decision. It's a powerful concept. Successful people make decisions very fast, change them very slow, if and when they change them at all. That's pointed out right on the front page. And we're going to explain how and why they make the decisions so fast. There's only one prerequisite for making a decision. Do you want to? That is the only prerequisite. You want to build a house, take a trip, anything you want to do, there's one prerequisite. Do you want to? Not can you afford to, not do you know how, not do you think you can get help to do it. The only prerequisite, do you want to? And when you want to and you make a binding commitment, an irrevocable commitment, you move on to that frequency and everything that's required will start to come to you. So people should ask themselves, do I want to learn what they're talking about?
It's going to be so good.
Good.
I can't wait.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Bob.
Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed this video. We put a lot of good information up here, and it causes everything in your life to get better. If you'd like us to notify you every time we put a new video up, hit subscribe and then turn on notifications. Check out all our videos, and we will notify you when we put a new one up.